Well, good morning again, everybody. Welcome to the Team Excellence Call. This is Lynn Gardner calling in from beautiful Virginia. We've had some freezing rain. It was magnificent. Every little twig on the trees was covered with ice. It was beautiful. We've had a little bit of snow. We've had everything in between, but it's been fairly mild, really, for Virginia, especially compared to other places, right? Snow going on the West Coast, Washington. Wow, it's kind of crazy this year. All it took, though, for me was one picture of frozen Niagara Falls to shut this Virginia girl up from whining about winter. That was an amazing picture, but I don't want to experience anything like that, right? Right about now, it begins to get to me just a little tiny bit. I work from home an awful lot, and I'm forced to work inside, of course, instead of outside on the porch. Or the weather permitting, I'm laptop phone on the front porch. So I begin to get a little antsy as we get closer to the end of winter, and I'm chomping at the bit for spring to come, as I'm sure many of you are. But it's all good, and it's always good, and if we determine to make the day be good, right? Happy Valentine's Day to all you sweethearts out there. I hope you're making it Valentine's Day every day in your life, and that this day is just a day to emphasize your love just a little bit more with a little bit more romance. With $187 on the average being spent per person to express love today, you guys need to make it a good one, right? But it's not the size or the cost of the gift that matters to most people. Those things are an outward expression of an inward emotion. It's the time and the love day after day that matters the most. Happy Valentine's Day to all you sweethearts. By the way, I always like to throw some trivia in, when I find it. And I was looking at Valentine's Day, and I was looking at this phrase that we use, wear your heart on your sleeve. And this is at least one theory of how that started. And it was back in the Middle Ages, when the guys would go out, the knights would go out to joust one another. And if they wanted to dedicate that joust or that fight, if you will, to their special lady, they put something of hers, like a scarf or a ribbon or something, around their sleeve, so everybody knew that he was fighting for her. How cool is that, right? So that's where it comes, wear your heart on your sleeve. So the message really for you guys out there today is you better let your loved one know, by wearing your heart on your sleeve for the woman you love. And I'm no expert on love, that's for sure, but I think that it goes well beyond flowers and candies and all that good stuff. So wear your heart on your sleeve for your loved one. As life here on the farm, I'm real excited, to be working on the barn again. I'm getting kind of antsy, and we have a prayer room that we're building out of one stall. So exciting. We have amazing leaders, that team coming in from Louisiana again. It's sometime in the spring to help with that barn expansion. And we've had a few others here and there, amazing champion hearts that are coming to town to help out. What a blessing. What a culture. I love our business. I love my life. I love these friends. We'll turn around once or twice, and it's going to be October. And you may feel like it's forever away, but it's not. So start making your plans. Remember, events don't just happen. None of them do. We make them happen. And this is a very special event coming up in Virginia. There's plenty of beauty, no doubt. It's a relaxed environment, no doubt, but it will be packed with power, believe me. Until you attend, you really can't imagine what we're talking about out here. So I'm going to take the liberty today. It's the day to express love. And I'm going to share a few words that our friend Earl Stevens put out on Facebook yesterday. And of course, Earl's the leader of that power team out of Louisiana, a leader in our business. And he remarked on one of the posts yesterday. And he writes, "The farm seems to have a soul. It expresses its beauty in so many ways. That place has been kissed by nature, blessed by our Father, and has a gatekeeper like no other. No other person I've ever met would own a home like this and open the doors to all who want to endure its beauty and holiness. Thank you, Lynn. Living Waters Farm will always be in my heart and soul. Looking so forward to our return visit. If anyone reading this has never been able to visit the Living Waters Farm, I highly recommend the experience. Come with an open heart, mind, and arms, and let each one be filled with what is there to be had. You can be changed in great ways." What a blessing to read these words. What an honor to be part of something big. And I just hope you'll join us. Sometimes we have to practice what we preach to our prospects, no doubt, right? You find the time, you find the money for the things most important to you. So make it happen. October 11th through 13th. It's the livingwatersfarmevent.com. So you may or may not know, more farm news, right, that I've taken in a foster dog here. Don't remember if I mentioned that to you before. I had a little dog. I loved her dearly for 17 years, and she died several years ago now. And after she died, I said, that's it. I never want another one. It just hurt too much, right? But then I started wavering back and forth. Maybe I want one, maybe I don't. So my daughter suggested that I foster one to see if a permanent pet would be right for me right now. So here I am. Her name is Wasabi. So she's unofficially become our Japanese company mascot for now. And I'm praying for your sake and her sake that she's quiet this morning. But this whole process of fostering a dog actually inspired the message for you today, entitled Try Before You Buy. You know, one of the most amazing aspects of our business is that we buy once and then we have the opportunity to endlessly share water so others can, you know, try before they buy as well. But just like everything in life, we need to have the right balance to make a try before you buy concept work in a positive way. The same, frankly, is true in every area of life, from relationships to our children, to our church, and most assuredly to the business. When you go look for a car, for instance, you have the chance to try before you buy. But that experience is limited just a few miles. You know, you go around the block a couple times before you spend tens of thousands of dollars. You're never told to take the car home till you're ready to make a decision. Not only does that not make sense for anybody, but because when you see the value of anything in life, you buy. It has nothing to do with how much time you did or didn't drive it. You see the value, you find the money. That ought to sound pretty familiar to you. You know that I come out of real estate. Showing properties is a very big part of the process. Of course, in my world, the auction world, the exception, you know, were the investment properties and foreclosures. You don't see inside them before you buy. But otherwise, we show properties so that people have the chance to visualize a life there. They need to see the value of the home from an emotional standpoint. Once that's there, they see the value of the investment. We don't ever say, why don't y'all just move in for a couple months, see if you want to live here. No way, are you kidding me? It has nothing to do with how much time you spent looking at it or not. When you see the value, you find the money. And those people spend hundreds of thousands or even millions without ever having a chance to try before you buy. When you buy electronics, for instance, most of the time you have a great return policy, you know, but you're never given the opportunity to take home an iPhone or a laptop for as long as you want, just to be sure it's something you want to buy. Instead, you read about it, you hold it, you might talk to a salesperson about it. You already know what it's supposed to be doing, right? It doesn't matter that you never got a chance to try before you buy. Something's wrong with it, you send it back. You'll spend upwards of $1,000 on a cell phone or thousands of dollars on a computer because you see the value. You don't need to try before you buy. You just need to know the value and how it will enhance your life. People buy what they see value in, and they make it happen in every area of life when they do. In relationships, you know, that dating and romancing is really strong in the early stages, especially, right? Each one trying before they buy, so to speak. But until you see the value of a life with someone else, you never make a commitment. And it has nothing to do with how long you date. You know, I knew a couple, they've since passed away, and they knew each other for 2 weeks before they tied the knot. They saw the value. They didn't need to try before they buy, right? They were together for 54 years until one of them passed away. Naturally, the other one followed within just weeks. You know, I'm dealing with this in my family. It's kind of funny. I have 4 kids. 3 out of the 4 are married. My third born, my oldest son, is not married, and he's been dating a wonderful young woman for a little over a year. He told me several months ago that she's the one, Mom. I got excited, right? It's the only time he's ever said that. He's 31. So we had a little talk about trying before you buy, as you can imagine. And I told him that it's always scary. This is the biggest step in this life in terms of relationships. You know, that's the biggest step. And no amount of trying before you buy will amount to anything except procrastination if you already see the value. If she's the one, it's time to be buying, right? With children, you know, we can babysit every niece and nephew on the planet. We can take a job in a daycare center. We can volunteer in the church nursery, but none of those try before you buy situations compare to being a parent, and none of them prepare you for the journey. You know, the kind of try before you buy sounds good on the surface, but until you embrace the value of being a parent, it makes no sense at all. You know, there are people that actually refrain from being a parent because they've tried before they buy, and they didn't like those diapers, and they didn't like to sleep this nights or anything like that, right? Because they haven't seen the value of love yet. and love conquers all those things. We see it in the church all the time. People will visit looking for a church, and they'll visit and visit and visit for months, sometimes even years, without making a commitment to that church. But it's prolonging a commitment and that kind of try before you buy that will keep you from becoming part of a church family until you see the value. Church isn't going anywhere, but you know what? If you wait long enough for anything in life, you're going to see the flaws. Certainly the church has flaws. And before you know it, you'll be looking for another church without ever making a commitment to any of them. And lastly, and most importantly for this call, is our business. The good news is that we have a try before you buy mentality. The bad news is that we have a try before you buy mentality, because no matter how much water you share and no matter how long you share it, the try before you buy doesn't get them to purchase. It's only when they see the value. People spend tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars on plenty of other things in life without the opportunity to spend weeks or months and or sometimes even years in a try before you buy situation in our business. So what makes sense to you? Do you think that they won't buy unless you keep sharing with them? I mean, like perpetually, that's the only step that you have to close them? That's not true. We really don't have competition out there in the market, at least not at this point. There's no question about it. But when you consider the quote unquote competition, you'll see a perfect example of how people will buy when they see the value and not because they got a chance to try before you buy. Of all the other nonsense ionizers products out there, they never allow them to try before they buy. Instead, they sell their value by comparing it to ours, and they close the prospect over the phone when the prospect sees the value. So if they had a try before you buy with us, think about it. They're not getting one with them. They're buying based on seeing the value more than anything else. So there's a balance when you allow people to try before you buy. And more often than not, I'm seeing people in our business, they don't have a balance when it comes to try before you buy for your success. So let's take a quick look at that. When you share water, you need to be sharing it not just with compassion, but with rules and guidelines. Going into a water share, you need to set up the rules of the game. It's your business, and you're the one doing the sharing, so you need to have rules of the game. There should be a specific amount of time, for instance, that you'll be sharing with specific guidelines to make it happen. It's a business, folks. Compassion doesn't take away the fact that it's a business, You sure don't go out and test drive a car without guidelines. You never do any of those things. You should never allow people to take home gallons and gallons of water to save you or them the time and trouble to refill. How ridiculous is that? What are you doing? If you know that the charge of the water declines every hour it's out, outside of the unit, how and why would you allow anybody to get water like once a week, for instance? Either you believe what you say about our technology or you don't. If you believe it, then act like you believe it. If you don't believe it, you're probably not going to do so well in business. But you guys all probably are familiar with our dear friend Wade Holder out of Colorado. He's the facilitator of the Difference Makers Call. He has a water store since almost day one in his business. There's a whole lot about his strategy. When you come from a place of marketing like I do, it's brilliant. It's too complicated to go into. But one of the best things he does is to limit the amount of water each person gets when they show up for water. They get 3 gallons, period. And the beauty of it is, if they want more than 3 gallons, he's always got people lined up in the store. If you want more than 3, go back to the end of the line and wait for it. He's trying to add value to it. When you let people come to you with a tanker to fill up, you're diminishing the entire message, and you're likely not to sell them. If your intent is for them to feel something, they won't feel a whole lot using drinking old water. They'll have alkaline water, but they certainly won't have the benefit. The biggest benefit of what we have is the electrical charge. By the way, that feel something teeters very close on a pharmaceutical mentality. It's kind of like we're saying, here, drink this, you'll get better. Some feel something like, improved energy and better sleep right away. That's a no-brainer. But some people are so toxic, they won't feel anything for months. So what are you going to do? Keep watering them until they actually say they feel something? They'll quit before you quit because they'll start saying, well, I didn't feel anything. So that's a bunch of hogwash, right? You don't want to set yourself up for failure, and that's setting yourself up for failure. But that's not their problem. Like you often like to place blame and say they didn't get it. I shared one water for 6 months and they never bought. That's not their problem, that's your problem. While some are overall in very good health, plenty of those people buy because they want to keep their health that way. They often feel very little, if anything at all, when they, get a drink of the water, but they believe in the long-term benefits. They see the value, it's worth it, and they buy. You set yourself up for failure with that feel something, try before you buy mentality. And you give permission that the water itself heals, impression that the water itself heals. And we know that's not the case. It's the miraculous nature of the human body. It's God designed to be that way. And you should be wowed over how the body reacts when we give it what it needs. So if you're going to talk about feeling better and improvement and healing, at least give credit to where credit is due, and it's not due to the water. If you can't help yourself, then you need to retrain what you say, because a lot of that is putting all of us in jeopardy. Perhaps, prospects should understand that the water share is a courtesy before they buy. It should never be, drink this until something happens. If you have no intention of selling, then I guess you could share water till the cows come home, and you can pay your bills some other way. I don't have that luxury. But if you're hoping your prospect will buy, then you need to position the entire process to try before you buy, and not try to see if you have amazing results and then maybe you'll buy. No other business does business that way, and you shouldn't be doing that way either to succeed. And what you're really offering is a sample of the quality water, courtesy sample before they buy, not a perpetual water share with no planned conclusion. Pharmaceutical companies give samples, and supplement companies give samples, even cannabis companies give samples as a courtesy. None of them give weeks or months or years to try before you buy. Longer is not better in our world. Sharing water is a compassionate thing to do, but it's more than compassionate when we lead them to having an endless supply of fresh canned water, right? I mean, that's the most compassionate thing we can do, is to be sure they get this technology in their home. Although the water share is a fabulous way to introduce the product, from where I sit, it's not the sharing of the water itself that's the most amazing benefit in the process. When you share water the right way, then you'll be seeing your prospect every other day. It's going to be work, folks. Don't fill them up for a week and a half. It's work every other day, and you need to be sure they understand that. You're going to need fresh water every other day. In a sales world, that's magical. I mean, you talk about the perfect built-in follow-up system. Every other day, you have a chance to reinforce the value. Every other day, you have a chance to share more about what our technology can do. Every other day, you're closing in on the close. That's the reason there needs to be a scheduled end to the entire process so you can bring it to a close. One last benefit of the water share is that they'll get tired of schlepping it. They're going to get tired of every other day, and so will you. And they'll start seeing the added benefit of having the technology in their home. With all those benefits in mind, why in the world would you load somebody up with water to last a week, just to make it easier for yourself and the prospect? We are in a compassion-based business, the most amazing company, products, comp plan, people, but don't let the compassion part cause you to lose sight of the fact you're in business, and everything you should do should be done with purpose. I can't think of a better way to share what we have than by offering a courtesy sample with guidelines and with rules, and especially a cutoff point announced before you give the first drop, a predetermined follow-up every other day, a salesperson's dream situation, to follow up without getting hung up on or getting avoided. Wow. You have their full attention throughout that water share if you put guidelines around it, right? While they try before you buy, by being the most important part of that process, you can be there with them. While they're slurping out the best water on the planet, you should be fine-tuning the process to bring it to a close. Otherwise, you're just a nice person sharing great water perpetually. And those are nice, compassionate things to do, but they won't lead you to success. Try before you buy. Guys, I hope you'll think about that today. You'll ponder it in the way that you're doing business, and consider that putting rules and guidelines around things doesn't make it any less compassionate. It makes it, in fact, more compassionate. So you guys go make it a great day. Be blessed. I'll see you next week. We'll see you at the top. Take care. Bye-bye.